Okay, I'm just gonna start over. Okay, so anyway, this is how you do it. Somebody asked me, how do you do this when you're not just doing it on a flat piece of paper? And this is how I check the angles. I have a straight little piece, a little dowel stick, and this is a really nice skinny one, which means it doesn't cover up so much. And so I'm just holding it parallel to my eyes, and I can see what kind of angles these lines make compared to a straight line. And the other thing I can do that really helps me is I can, this makes me a little sick to try to figure out where I am. But say like this, I can get that, the measurement. So what I'm seeing is my left, I'm holding my, I mean, I'm not now, but if I was really outside, I'd be holding my arm really straight, because straight is somewhere I can find again. And I want to make sure that the stick is parallel to my eyes. And I can say, okay, that's the width of the house. And then if I move my whole hand over till my finger rests on the edge of the side of the house, I can see that the side of the house is only just a little bit longer than the front of the house because of the perspective. So like I said in the video, even though you know this is a rectangular house, the things you know kind of stand in the way of knowing how to make something look realistic in perspective. Okay, so the thing is, I don't have to think about usually all this as much. So I'm going to be thinking about a lot of stuff right now. And well, it's hard for me to think. And so I might, anyway, it might turn out terrible because I might be overthinking it for me. But I just, even though I don't, oh, okay, I got to quit looking at the computer screen now. I have to look at my picture. And I see that you can't see the whole picture. Okay, there, that's better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of, get it sort of where I think things are going to go. I mean, sometimes, like when I used to paint the tractors, I would measure, I would get some sort of sense right away. So look, I already did it wrong. I would get some sort of sense right away of where things were on the picture. And I might even have done a little measuring and checking before I started, because they were so difficult, and the perspective was so extreme a lot of times that I just couldn't tell I would just draw it so wrong, and it was so complicated anyway. So, but the idea would be you draw first and then you check, because what you want to do is you want to get better at drawing, not better at checking. You want to be better at drawing, not better at just measuring. So before, like I said, that the house, this side of the house was only a little bit longer. So you can see I made it too long already. So when doing something like this, I might want to do a little checking right away, just to be sure things aren't spinning horribly out of control. And then that's here. And I tried this time to get my paper the same size proportion as my photograph, but I don't know. It was like I couldn't figure it out. It was weird. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. It was like they were saying, I was listening to Wait, Don't Tell Me today, and they were saying that pilots have forgotten all these things about flying, like where are the windshield wipers, and I was like, oh yeah, I've forgotten a lot of things too. Yeah, so quit looking at that. Okay, so also, oh my God. Okay, so let's see now, no, this doesn't look right. So this is my only kind of fear about doing a structure, is that it takes a while to get it drawn right. And when you're drawing, some of these things, you draw them just as a line, but the truth is they have, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's the whatever this is, and the fascia board, and all these things actually have a dimension and not just a line. So you kind of, I just know I've had a lot of trouble when I describe it with just a line. It's actually not very accurate. So I was just trying to show that is a little darker underneath there, but I made it too big. I also was kind of wishing I was drawing bigger, but if that's all right. You know, really what I should have done, the first measurement you should take is the overall height against the overall width. So let me just check that. Oh, I have to do it over here. Wait, what do I have to do? Oh yeah, I can't look at what I'm doing to check. Okay, so the overall height from the sort of to the peak from the center of the roof there is whoa, so that's one. And then I look where the end of my stick is, except I can't hold my hand that still, but I think it's right there by that window. So it's about 1.5 times as wide as it is tall. So then on my painting, I put it just right like that. And I go one, okay, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. Okay, maybe it's a little longer. So what the secret to getting to be better at drawing is to draw, measure, and correct, and then recheck. So now I have one, still not what it says it is. I still feel like it's too short now. Okay, but I can't go on and on with this or I'll never do anything. But you know, it's a good idea to take the time to do it right, just not when you're trying to do something in 30 minutes. Also, I really think there's this thing, like I know when I first started painting in Italy, um, like the windows there, it's like it's never windows like these where they are all equal. It's always just sort of this, it just appears to be kind of a randomish thing. And at first I would make them equal and I would make them too big because the windows are really little there. So it's this thing about drawing what you know and not what you're really seeing. And I don't, unless maybe if these things are parallel to the house, which they kind of look like they are, then then they would go to the same vanishing point. But if the driveway wasn't parallel to the house, then it wouldn't. And I'm also trying to see where it ends, like right up here, it ends just where the edge of the land is. It's just a little bit above the bottom of the house. And that's one of the most common mistakes I see people make, is they make the road go up too high. Or whatever's back there. Oh my God, there's all these buildings. All right, well, okay, here's this little building. Yeah, so see, I need to check. I just like for a minute there, I had a little, wasn't sure what the side of the building did, even though I kind of knew the bottom of the roof, in other words. Too short. A lot of times, you know, the most buildings, I haven't really done many Vermont buildings lately, but when I'm doing those Italian buildings, a lot of times the whole first 2 or 3 hours is just the drawing because they're just so complicated. So, yep. But I like that. Like, that's what I like, because I like complicated things. And that's what you all like too. You just might not know it. But the left side of your brain, which is the side of the brain that your art stuff is on, it loves stuff that's really complicated. Okay, so I don't know. All these windows, all these doors. Okay, but I'm going to show you some stuff about the windows. I was going to show it in the video, but it seemed like it was going too long and I got anxious that maybe I hadn't rehearsed it. Although I didn't rehearse the rest, but I got sort of worried about that. Okay, so windows. So I think I showed you the windows. Like first, all you have to do is get that line and the line of the bottom of the windows. And then you know where the windows are going to go. I mean, you know where the top and the bottom of the windows are going to be. And so then this, I could measure it all, but you know what? That's not my favorite thing in this world to do. Oh, but you know what? If you extend this line like this, if the windows on this side of the house are at the same height as the windows on the other side of the house. By extending this line to this, you know how these windows go to. Sorry, I forgot. So yeah, so even if the windows don't go to the corner, if you extend that line, you'll know what happens on this side too. Okay, so I could measure everything, you know, I could measure this, I could do it all, but I'm not an architect. So the only time I would really do that kind of extreme measuring is if I was doing a house portrait for someone. And I have done a lot of those, and then you have to be sure there's enough windows. But here, I'm just going to kind of eyeball the distance to this first window. I'm sorry, including the, oh, I think I made them too tall, didn't I? Okay, wait, just a minute. You know, like when we were kids and we drew houses, we almost always made the door taller than the windows. And this door is just a tiny bit taller than the windows, but mostly they're not. Mostly the door, the top of the door will be lined up with the windows. So just, you know, pay attention. Don't assume anything. Okay, so here's the front of this window. And then because I'm not measuring, I'm just going to make kind of an educated guess that the back end of the window goes to there. And then what I do is, yeah, like I have no idea. I'm assuming these windows are equally spaced. So to find out the size of the next space, what I have to do is take my stick and I have to put it right here on the diagonal between the line that denotes the top of the windows and the line that denotes the bottom of the windows. And then I'm just going to bring it over here and I'm going to try not to move it. And when this point hits the top, then this is where the second window starts. Okay, and so now to find the width of the window, I do a similar thing, except now I'm going to do it for the window. And this is how telephone poles work, or trees that are planted equally. All of it works just like this. So I've got that angle. Now I try to move my stick back and keep that angle. And this is where the end of the window is. This window. It's a little hard because, you know, my charcoal is so fat. I don't know what to tell you about that. So if you're practicing perspective, you probably want to practice with pencil. Okay, so now I've got to do another space. So I'm going to get my space between my, I mean, I think I can use this space again. I'm not 100%. Let's see. I think it would be about the same if you use the same space all the way back. But I usually just use the next space. So this is the space between the windows again, and I take it back there until it crosses that line. And this is my next space. And I know it's getting really confusing. I guess I could try to show that it's windows here by putting in the shutters. Okay, so then I take my window and I go back here, and this is where the end of my last window is right there. And that was pretty lucky. And then if you start to erase out those in-between lines, then you can see where your windows really are. Okay, so that's what you can do, or you can just slam them on there and say, you know. But what, oh, I didn't show you, but what if it's not true?
Could I ask you one question about those windows?
Yeah.
So I can see they get smaller vertically as they go back. But what you're saying and what you just demonstrated is if they're evenly spaced on the building, you keep using those even spaces even though you're going farther away?
They're not even. See, here's the first space. Here's the second space.
Okay.
So that's one thing, is like, because you know they're even, you might just see them as even. But that was a great question.
Okay, and when you do that angle, because they're getting smaller, they'll get closer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you guys all see that? I don't know if Ron was big right then, but that here's this space, and then see how much smaller the second space is. And then the third space is even smaller. And but like I said, there's some problems with the drawing. So the other windows would, you know, be in here. It's probably, I mean, it's really hard to do these windows and get them in the right places. So, but once you understand how it works, that should really help you. And then, okay, so if we, I think I've showed you guys this before, and maybe I drew the roof wrong, I think, actually. So if you take this rectangle right here, so the rectangle that just forms the house, see, yeah, you can see I drew the roof that wrong. So what you do is you're gonna X that rectangle. And then I just want to make sure, I should have gotten I think I took all my triangles to school, so I have to use a ruler. Okay, so then if you draw a straight line that goes through that center right there, then you'll find where the peak of the roof needs to be. So I didn't miss it by too much, I guess. I guess it's pretty good actually, but doesn't seem right. Okay, it is. So the deal is the peak of the roof also has to be, this peak has to be more than halfway back because things get smaller as they get further away. So, and it's not this distance to check on the perspective line. It's this distance. So from here to here is smaller than from here to here, right? Yes, it's significantly smaller, honestly. And then I messed these up too, because see, they need to be even more of an angle. So if these windows are in real life, you know, centered on the center of the roof, like they are, then you need to be really sure you know where the center is. You know, I just pulled out my ruler. I don't usually have a ruler with me. I usually do have my stick. I think it's one of my stick, my hat, and my viewfinder are my 3 most important tools.